going to be recording. I might not tell you that because I said it earlier, but we are recording, and this recording will be available on that page later today. So I want to let you know we have the entire staff of Visit Hendricks County, most of the staff, I should say, one's on vacation today, here with us today. So myself, I'm the CEO. My name's Jamie. I mentioned Kyle. Kyle's in the room with me. He's gonna have to wave so the camera picks him up.
I'm over here.
It's not picking you up today.
I'm a ghost.
He's a ghost, but he's in the far corner. He's over here, not picking him up. But Kyle is here. Kyle Johnson's the director of Vice President of Marketing Strategy. Tracy Weststone is the other little box with me. She's our Senior Partnerships Manager. Also on the call today, we have Kim Fox. She's our Senior Research and Data Manager. Allie Adams, our Digital Content Coordinator. Josh Dukes, Senior Communications Manager. And Philip Dybert is on here today. He actually doesn't join us until February 10th, but he is our new Director, Vice President of Destination Development. So super excited to have everyone here today. We're missing a couple people for vacations, but other than that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelsey and we're going to get started.
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, I will go ahead and share the screen and make so everyone can see it. For that introduction, and I'm really excited to share all of the results with you all on the call. Like Jamie mentioned, this piece that we'll be talking about today is really that brand health, that image study. So what are potential travelers and travelers to Hendricks County thinking about the county as a whole? And then what's the difference between the never seen the ads? How does Hendricks County rank against some of your competitors? And then we finish it up with the halo effect that I'll talk about at the end. Again, just a little bit of an agenda for the webinar today. So a little bit of background on the study, then we'll go into that advertising awareness and visitation, then that image overview, the competitive analysis, and then we'll end with the halo effect, and then we'll go to Q&A if you guys have any questions for me. So just a little about Longwoods, in case you've never heard of us before, I won't hold it against you, but we were established in 1978 as just a general market research consultancy, but we decided to start focusing on tourism in 1985. So over 40 years at this point that we've been really focused on tourism, and we work with over 175 destinations and brands. We do have headquarters in Columbus and Toronto, but I'm actually in Indianapolis, so I get to see all the Visit Hendricks County ads as I'm here in Fountain Square. So a little bit about the project itself, and especially the Longwoods piece of it. So what we did is the Longwoods team worked closely with the Visit Hendricks County team to create a custom survey that would measure the effectiveness of the 2023 advertising. We did that in order to learn what motivates travelers from the county's feeder markets. We wanted to see how travelers from those advertising markets think about Hendricks County versus the competitors. Some of the competitors that we did look at would be Hamilton County, Johnson County, so the Clark and Floyd counties, Terre Haute, and Evansville. But we wanted to do that and not just that. And so we did this study to also see if the ads from Visit Hendricks County and leisure trips to the county impact the opinion of the area. And then especially too when it comes to economic development statements as well. So what we did to conduct the study is we surveyed 1,000 travelers from 4 key advertising markets. So 2 in-state markets. So the full Indianapolis DMA, you can see on the right-hand side, it has little asterisks. So it's the Indianapolis DMA minus Hendricks County. So we did not survey any Hendricks County residents for this piece. And so we did Indianapolis and Fort Wayne for in-state, and then out-of-state would have been Cincinnati, Ohio, and Kentucky, and then Champaign, Springfield, Decatur, Illinois. So to be considered a traveler, and they have to live in one of these 4 markets, but then they also have to be 18 years old and have taken at least 1 leisure trip in the last 3 years and plan to take one in the next 2 years. And it doesn't matter if they visited Hendricks County or not, they just had to have taken a trip. And then the survey respondents were chosen and selected in order to be representative of and proportionate to the populations of these 4 markets. The study that we ran actually fielded, so people took the survey through late April to early May. And this was focused on 2023 ads, but the survey ran in the spring of 2024. And then as we go through all of the results, one thing that I always want to point out is that we have a 3-point margin of error on this study. So anything that looks like it's 51 versus 52, we consider that to be statistically tied. But if it was 51 versus 56, we would be able to say that 56 is statistically higher. So the very first piece that we're going to look at is just overall advertising awareness, again, from those 2023 ads. So we see here that social media awareness was 42%. So 42% of all the people we surveyed said that they remember seeing one of the social media ads that we had in the survey. And just so you guys know, the best performing ads in terms of recall were related to the NHRA, and then also the summer and fall messaging on TikTok. There in the middle, we have the digital awareness. So 34% of people who took the survey remembered seeing at least a digital ad from Visit Hendricks County. And the ones that had the highest recall were actually on audio streaming services and YouTube. And then on the far right-hand side, we have the out-of-home awareness at 16%. And the better of the 2 performing ads were the Explore, Experience, Eat, just west of Indy messaging. And 19% of people recalled that one. And then when we combine everything together, we have 8% of respondents were aware of the ad. So this is obviously lower than if we totaled all 3 buckets together. And this is because it was multiple select. So you could say, I recalled seeing 15 of the 40 ads, and it could cross all 3. So there is cross media recall, which is really good, right? You want to be able to reach people everywhere they are. And this is really showing that that is happening. And so I mentioned we had those 2 in-state markets and the 2 out-of-state markets. So we split up the awareness between the 2 as well. So you can see that the in-state awareness for Visit Hendricks County ads in 2023 was at 54% versus 42% out-of-state. So I think this is also really strong. I mean, Visit Hendricks County and a lot of the Midwest is drive markets. And so if you're getting people to come from closer, that's really great. And so 54% here for in-state is really strong. And then there's still room to grow, but this is definitely not a bad number with 42% out of state. And we're looking at the destination visitation and interest. So really this means, have you been to Hendricks County and do you want to come to Hendricks County? So here we have Hendricks County in the yellow box there in the middle. So the first column is, have you ever visited Hendricks County? And 26% of the people who took the survey say yes. And of that 26, did you visit in the last 2 years? 62% said yes. So you have a lot of recent visitation for those who have ever visited. But one thing to remember is that we have 26% who have ever visited, but we have even more who are aware of the advertisement. So this is really good news, like saying, hey, so many people see it, and so we have the ability to grow this ever visited bucket. And then with that ever visited, you guys are below Hamilton County and Johnson County, but statistically tied or above in terms of the past 2 years with Sowen, Terre Haute, and Evansville. And then I think this one is a little bit more exciting, where it's, do you intend to visit any of these destinations in the next 12 months? And so here we can see that 27% of the people who took the survey intend to visit Hendricks County within the next year. You guys are, again, that 3-point margin of error. So you guys are statistically tied with everyone except Hamilton County. They were a little bit stronger here at 39% of people intending to visit them in the next year. So we'll move into the image itself. So what do people think? What do travelers think of Hendricks County? So one thing that we do is we asked, I think, Jamie, it was what, like 50 or 60 individual statements. It was a lot. We had dozens and dozens of individual statements about Hendricks County and the competitive set. And so what we ended up doing is we actually bucket all of those individual image attributes into what we call travel motivators. So these travel motivators are groupings of the individual attributes. And so we've got a list here. And again, this is going to be recorded, so I will stop on all of them, but I'm not going to read them all at you. But you can see here what image attributes fall within each bucket. So like exciting is the travel motivator, but then the individual attributes would be a fun place to visit. Visiting this place is a real adventure, an exciting place. And we have the same for adult vacation, family atmosphere, popular, sightseeing and entertainment. Then we also have worry-free and unique, outdoor recreation, and affordable. So I'll pause just for 2 seconds here so that way anyone can screenshot it if you want to. But what we do with those travel motivators is we, on the back end, our data scientists, not me, I'm just going to say, we figure out how these buckets correlate with the statement, I'd really enjoy visiting this place. And so we have realized after doing tons and tons of these surveys that those who say I'd really enjoy, this is a place I'd really enjoy visiting, are the most likely to actually visit that destination. And so we then bucket all of these to how closely tied these categories or these travel motivators are with a place I'd really enjoy visiting. And so these are what's most important for those people who took the survey when looking for any destination to visit. So this so far is not just Hendricks, but Hendricks County has to be exciting, good for an adult vacation, good for a family atmosphere, and popular in order to even get on these travelers' lists for considering to visit. And then a couple things that are a little less important in terms of these travel motivators would be sightseeing and entertainment, worry-free and welcoming and unique. And then the least important to get on someone's consideration list would be outdoor recreation and affordability. So those were the travel motivators. And then again, I said we had like 50 or 60 individual attributes. And what we did is we found the top 10 or the what we call hot buttons. So of all of the 50 or 60, these are the ones that are going to be closely tied to a place I'd really enjoy visiting. So again, what can we really highlight about Hendricks County that are going to motivate the traveler or markets to consider Hendricks County on their next trip? So it's really important for Hendricks County to be strong or put out the messaging. Again, if it's authentic and unique, you don't want to be saying that we have roller coasters when you don't have roller coasters. So to focus on the ones that are on this list that are really representative of Hendricks County. So the top 10 hot buttons would be a fun visit, a good place to travel with friends, visiting this place is a real adventure, an exciting place, lots to see and do, noted for its unique dining experiences, provides unique travel experiences. Children would especially enjoy this place, a good place for families, and interesting towns. So again, a lot about the uniqueness, a good place to travel with family is really important. And so I think there are a lot of things that Hendricks County has that really falls within these hot buttons. And we had a custom question that was just for Visit Hendricks County, but we wanted to see what people were really interested in terms of amenities and activities when selecting their next leisure vacation. And so number one on the list was restaurants. So 75% of people said that any destination I go to has to have really good restaurants or a lot of restaurants, or there just needs to be restaurants. 60% said outdoor amenities, 51% said events and festivals, and then both at 44% was retail stores and shopping or downtown districts and main streets. And then a little bit less important on the scale would be sports and recreation, event centers, and meeting spaces. And again, We're asking about leisure trips, so not surprising that event centers and meeting spaces is lower when it comes to leisure, but I do know that it is much more important when it comes to business, and the event centers that are in Hendricks County are really great. And I know bring in a lot of business.
And Kelsey, can we go back to that slide real quick? I want to mention for those of you that were on last week's webinar, these questions or these categories will look familiar to you. These are the same categories that were used in the Likert scale for the residents. So that's why this was a custom question for Hendricks County, because we wanted to make sure that we asked the potential visitors the same question that we were asking the residents to rank. And so you'll see that restaurants, outdoor amenities, events, and festivals ranked as the top 3, just as they did with residents. So this was part of that question where we wanted to find out what's important to residents and what's important to visitors. And I think Katie Cummings asked the question in the very beginning, what surprised me the most? And it was the fact that the residents and the visitors both had the same priority when it came to leisure activities. So wanted to point this out today.
Yeah, thanks. So that's really interesting. And yeah, it's wonderful that you guys are doing that, because not every destination has the forethought to, if we're putting money into something, we want to make sure that our residents are happy with it too, and our visitors are still going to enjoy it. But we're not just building things for our visitors and then the residents out, or vice versa. So being able to bridge that gap. So props to you guys for being on the forefront of this and getting ahead of it. It's awesome. So again, mentioning, what does the advertising do on people's perceptions? Does it have an impact on how people think of Visit Hendricks County? And yes, it does. So when we ask the question, is Hendricks County a place that you would really enjoy visiting? Those who have seen one of the ads or aware, so that in the blue, 37% agree with that, compared to 22% who are unaware of the advertisements. So that's a 15-point lift of perception increases for those who have seen the ads. So the ads are really working and are really changing the opinion of what people think of Hendricks County as a leisure destination. So again, we have those travel motivators, so the buckets of all the image attributes. And in blue, we have the perception levels, or those who strongly agree with these statements, for the people that are aware of any ad. And then in green are the perceptions of those who are unaware. So there is a really strong lift in every single travel motivator category for those who are aware versus unaware of the Visit Hendricks County advertisements. Some of the strongest lift would be in exciting. So there's a 14-point increase in people who thought Hendricks County is exciting for those who saw the ads versus have never seen the ads. Another one with really strong lift is sightseeing and entertainment. So a 12-point lift there. 14 points for unique and 11 points for outdoor recreation. So again, every single one of these categories or travel motivators were positively impacted by the tourism advertisements in 2023. And here's just the top ones with lift for all of those 50 and 60 individual image attributes. And what we have in the yellow boxes are those hot buttons. Again, those that are really important. So these are the ones that we want to be the strongest in. And it's really great news that we have a lot of them seeing lift from the tourism advertisements. So noted for its unique and dining experiences, 18 points above those who have never seen an ad. Beautiful gardens and parks, also 18 points up. Visiting this place is a real adventure. That's another hot button, so that's at 17 points. Also at 17 is excellent bars and nightlife. 16 points up is children would especially enjoy this place. An exciting place is going to be that bottom one in yellow with a 14-point lift for those who are aware versus unaware. And we continue to see that going through some of the others. Again, there were like 3 more of these slides that I did remove just for the sake of time, but there are like every single one of them either or had lit for those who saw the ads versus didn't see the ads. There were none negative or like a worse view of Hendricks County after seeing the ad than before seeing it. We do the same thing with product delivery. So we say product delivery, but it's really our satisfied with Hendricks County after visiting than before visiting. So did their opinion of the county change when they came versus before they have ever visited? So we start with those travel motivators again. And so we do see that there is lift between those who have visited in blue versus never visited in green. If you recall, when we were talking about the ads, that lift was even higher than the visitation. But the baseline here is higher. So those who have never visited have a little bit higher opinion than those who have also never seen an ad. So something to think about there, but the visitation is having a positive in the perceptions of travelers in all of these travel motivator categories. And the two that really stand out the most as having the highest lift would be popularity. So that's a 10-point lift for those who have visited versus never visited, and affordability is a 12-point lift between those who have visited and never visited. And then we break it down again into all of the individual image attributes, and we do see that there are two of the high make it to the top of this list for that gap between perceptions and those who have visited versus never visited. But what's the top here, and maybe something to consider really touching on, is not too far away to consider for a leisure trip. So 17-point lift there, but a good place to travel with friends. They really saw this lift at 14 points for visiting, and then a fun place to visit has a 12-point lift. This one we did have a couple of, I thought that Hendricks County would be really good for fishing. I came and I didn't maybe think that after I left. So that was a 6-point weakness here for fishing, and then great for canoeing and kayaking was a 5-point weakness here. But that's it. If those are the only two things, I feel like we're doing a really good job here. And then we did a little bit for the in-state versus out-of-state. So again, in-state would be Indianapolis and, oh gosh, was it Fort Wayne? Yes, thank you. And then we have out-of-state as Cincinnati and then Springfield. So we have the travel motivators again with the buckets here. So in blue is going to be the in-state travelers, and the light blue is going to be the out-of-state. And so we have high perception of Hendricks County for those who live in state versus out of state, except when we get down here to affordability. So those who are in state feel like Hendricks County is a bit more affordable than those who are out of state. But everything else is really statistically tied. So that's strong messaging, consistent messaging, I think, across the board between those in-state and out-of-state travelers.
Kelsey,
Yeah.
I think that would be a good place for me to just make a comment about state marketing. Indiana has the Indiana Destination Development Corporation, and in 2023, they were still one of the lowest funded state marketing opportunities in the nation. In 2024, they had a $20 million budget. And so we would expect maybe those numbers to improve in coming years, just because you have to get through the noise, right? So the state should be out there marketing the awareness of the state as a good place to visit. So when you're choosing where to travel, you have to choose, the Midwest, you have to choose Indiana, you have to choose Central Indiana, you have to choose the left parenthetical, right? The west side of the city, and then you have to choose Hendricks County. So with the state not being in the market, creating a positive image of Indiana, we struggle a little bit with that. So if you would ever like more information about why the State Office of Tourism would, or IDDC should have more funding, I would be happy to share that with you.
And yeah, for those of you on the call, you get to know from me that I've talked to IDDC as well. And I know that Cincinnati specifically is one of the markets that they raised the spend level in tremendously in 2024. And again, we're talking about 2023 marketing. So it would be really interesting to see what that enhancement is in the next couple of years as they, spent more money in Cincinnati. And that's one of the 4 markets we studied. So talking about the competitive set. So I just want to throw out there, and I feel like everyone on this call is aware of Hamilton County. They have a very large budget. They have a lot of infrastructure that is like brand new, sparkly. Everyone talks about it. So I'm just gonna put this out here first that Hamilton County is very strong. But when we're talking about all of the other destinations, Hendricks County does a really good job competing. And in most of these categories, we're still not 20, 30 points off Hamilton County. Like it might not be tomorrow that we change opinions, but it is definitely not out of the realm of possibility within the next few years to kind of bridge that gap and make Hendricks County closer to Hamilton County. Just for this study, I wanted to put that out there that it's not going to be a surprise. County is first in almost every single one of these. But this very first piece that we look at is, do travelers consider any of these 6 areas a place I'd really enjoy visiting? So 41% agreed with that for Hamilton County and 30% agreed with Hendricks County. But again, we have a 3-point margin of error. So you guys right here in this range are all really statistically tied. So it's just Sowen and Hamilton County that squeaked past you and those who agree that it's a place I'd really enjoy visiting.
And do note that Sowen is on the Ohio River.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect them to do well.
Yeah, yes, agree with that. And so we have each of the individual travel motivators here, but what we've done on this slide is we have in the dark blue Hendricks County's ratings, and in the light blue is that combined competitive set. So all 5 other counties or areas combined together. And so we have exciting, you guys are statistically tied. Adult vacation, statistically tied. Family atmosphere. Popular is you guys are just outside of that margin of error, points lower, but again, tied with sightseeing, worry-free, unique, outdoor recreation, and affordability. So this is really strong, saying that you guys are competing very well with those other counties that you guys view as competition. So this is really good news here, that there are no real weaknesses. And so when we're looking at exciting and wanting to see versus the other 5 areas, again, we see Hamilton County as top, followed by Sowen. Evansville is statistically tied with you guys, as well as Terre Haute and Johnson County. When we're looking at the exciting image attributes, so again, those individual ones that roll up into the travel motivator category, we see a fun place to visit. You guys are 5 points down from that combined competitive set, but when we saw on the last slide, it's really just being driven by Hamilton County. But you guys are statistically tied with the top set when it comes to visiting this place as a real adventure, as well as an exciting place. And so these are, again, top hot buttons where you guys really do want to be strong, and it's proof here that you guys are doing well against the comp set. When we're talking about adult vacations, you guys are statistically tied again with Evansville, Johnson County, and Terre Haute. 1 point out of the margin of error when it comes to Sowen, and then Hamilton County is number 1 at 46%. When it comes to a family atmosphere, again, you guys are right here, tied in the middle with Johnson County, but you are above Terre Haute in this travel motivator category and statistically tied with Sowen, and then Hamilton County has once again risen to the top. Again, the family atmosphere was one of those more important travel motivators when it came to your target markets and what would be most important to choose a destination. So I wanted to look at some of these here. So you guys are doing really well against the combined comp set, with children would especially enjoy this place, and then statistically tied for a good place for families to visit. So again, really strong here. And I feel like you would be doing higher than the combined comp set if we took Hamilton County out, but we want to be realistic. They are a competitor. We want to keep them in this list. When it comes to popularity, I feel like this is not a surprise based on what we've seen in previous slides. You guys do rank a little bit lower in terms of popularity at 5% of people agree. And then Hamilton County is number one at 35. Evansville has actually kind of risen higher here than what we've seen in other travel motivators at 33. Terre Haute's at 29, Sowens at 28, which means that you guys are tied with them, but you do beat out Johnson County. When it comes to sightseeing and entertainment, really everyone is kind of around the same range, that 31 to 25 range, but Hamilton County does squeak above everyone else at 39%. And because a couple of the hot buttons fall under sightseeing and entertainment, I wanted to kind of call this out, where lots do. You guys are a little bit lower than the comp set, but again, because of Hamilton County, interesting towns, you guys are statistically tied with the comp set. And really the only other category on here that you guys would fall behind on would be exciting shows and entertainment. But I do want to point out, noted for motorsport experiences, you guys are 6 points above everyone else. So I think this is really good news for you here too. And something, I mean, we saw the NHRA ads were some of the most effective in terms of recall. And so this is definitely still something to continue touching on in your messaging. Worry-free and welcoming. You guys all really rose higher than some of the other categories where we were seeing like low 30s, high 20s, but everyone here is in the high 30s or so Hendricks County, you guys are there at 39%. Hamilton County is at the top with 45, but you do beat out Terre Haute, who's there at 35. Unique. I feel like most Midwestern counties struggle with unique, but we are again still in that mid 30s, so definitely not terrible. Hamilton County does beat the pack at 41. You can see here that you guys are statistically tied with everyone and beating Terre Haute. Again, we have a couple of those hot buttons that fall in the unique travel motivator category. And so wanted to just point out that noted for its unique dining experiences and provides unique travel experiences, you guys are tied with the competitive set. So even when Hamilton County is combined with that.
Hey, Kelsey, there's a question in the chat that asks, how is popular defined in this context?
Yeah, so popular, I can go back to, okay, we're on slide 43. All right, I'm gonna go back to where we had this. So popular is going to be popular with travelers in a well-known destination. So those two rankings combined equals popular for the travel motivator category. Hope that helps.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, don't want to give anyone motion sickness. So one of the last ones that we have with the competitors is going to be outdoor recreation. So this one we actually see Sowen in Southern Indiana at the top in terms of outdoor recreation. So this is one of the only ones that they beat Hamilton County on. So it goes Sowen, Hamilton County, Johnson County, Hendricks County, but you guys are tied with Johnson County, but definitely beating Evansville and Terre Haute when it comes to outdoor recreation.
And I should have probably mentioned when I said Sowen was on the river, Sowen is directly outside of Louisville. So it's across the bridge, the pedestrian bridge. It's where the Falls of the Ohio State Park is. So if you aren't familiar with Clark Floyd County, it doesn't have a riverboat, but it is basically a suburban community to Louisville that is on the Indiana side that has invested heavily in product development in the outdoor recreation and dining space. So these numbers don't surprise me. None of these numbers surprise me.
Right. And I mean, yeah, me living here in Indianapolis, none of this is a surprise for me either. And with Sowen, like you said, Jamie, literally you can see Louisville like from Sowen. So it's definitely a suburb and really part of town, I would say.
Yeah, Sowen is to Louisville what Hamilton County is to Indianapolis.
Oh, yeah, that's a perfect, yes, exactly. And then we have affordability. So this is the last travel motivator that we'll look at against the different competitive set counties. And so here we have Johnson County actually winning for affordability. This one did kind of surprise me that Johnson County won, but that was interesting. And then followed by Hamilton County. That also surprised me that they were still considered more affordable. And then Sowen, you guys are tied really with Hamilton County, Sowen, and Terre Haute and Evansville. So it's really just Johnson County that stands out when we're looking at that 3-point margin of error. And so we wanted to look at any of those individual image attribute statements that Hendricks County really did well in, and that would be noted for motorsports experiences, where you guys are 6 points above the comp set. We only had 4 where we said that you guys were statistically outside of the margin of error and considered a weakness against the competitive set. So it would be 6 points for a well-known destination, exciting entertainment and shows, 5 points for great canoeing and kayaking, and 5 points for a fun place to visit. I think the only one to keep an eye out on is this fun place to visit because it is a hot button. The other ones are not as important to a traveler, so having a little bit of weakness here is not a problem. So the last section that we'll talk about today is going to be the halo effect. So this is a Longwoods term, so I don't expect anyone to know what a halo effect is, so I will definitely describe it for you. So the halo effect is really overarching impact of tourism advertisements. So we know from all of the slides that we've talked about earlier that the image is really impacted positively when it comes to Hendricks County being a good place for a leisure vacation from the tourism advertisement that Hendricks County puts out there. But what else is being positively impacted perception-wise by those tourism advertisements that might not even be related to tourism? And so we actually came up with a set of statements that are tied to economic development and not just tourism, but how does the tourism ads impact those economic development statements? So here we have in green those opinions of people who have seen want to visit Hendricks County's tourism ads versus the blue, people who have never seen any of the advertisements. So this doesn't matter if they visited or not. We're only asking about if they're aware of the ads. And so we can see that there is a huge perception lift for those who've seen ads versus not seen ads in all of these economic development statements. So we have a good place to live, a 12-point lift, a good place to start a career, a 10-point lift, as well as a good place to start a business. One that's really strong with a 15-point lift is a good place to purchase a second home. So that's really interesting there. And then a good place to retire had a 13-point lift. So people are seeing the advertisements and being like, oh, not only do I want to visit Hendricks County, but I might consider or living there or sending my kid to start a career there. So this is good news in saying that that money that Visit Hendricks County is going towards more than just bringing in first-time visitors. We do the same thing with visitation. So in green, have you visited in the past 2 years versus blue, I've never visited. Here we don't ask or we don't put in if they've seen an ad or not. That'll come next. But this is just based on visitation. So we have even higher lift scores here for those who have visited. So we have a 14-point lift in a good place to live, a 13-point lift for a good place to start a career, 20 points for a good place to start a business. So that's really, really exciting. 15 points, a good place to purchase a second home, and 7-point lift for a good place to retire. And then on this last slide, we combine the two. So in green is if you have seen any ad and have visited Hendricks County in the past 2 years versus those in blue. I've never seen an ad. I've never been to Hendricks County. Here's what I think. We have the largest perception lifts, reputational lifts here between those two categories with 24 points for a good place to live, 20 points, a good place to start a career, 25 points, a good place to start a business. 24, a good place to purchase a second home, and 16 points, a good place to retire. So this really proves that seeing the ad and coming to Hendricks County makes people more likely to want to move to Hendricks County, want to start a business in Hendricks County. There's Maura Gast, who's really involved in Destinations International. If you guys know about that association, she like it starts with a visit, and there's a whole cycle of it starts with a visit, and then they are more likely to move. And once they move, they want to start a business or ask their friends and family to move, and then they want to retire there. And so tourism really has a much larger impact on a community than just bringing heads and beds and tax dollars. It really does also just bring more in general to the community and to the county. But that is my last slide. So Jamie, do you want me to stop sharing and we can do some Q&A?
Sure. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to turn your camera on, and you can ask Kelsey questions, ask me questions. Like I said, this is our last webinar on this series. So we're happy to take questions on this or the plan as a whole.
While people are coming up with questions, we did address in the chat, but this survey was completed prior to the opening of Hendricks Live, prior to us doing any marketing of Hendricks Live. So the live performances and entertainment we would expect would be a little higher. Obviously, we've got some work to do there, but we do have new product in that area. So hopefully we'll see some lift there in future surveys. Thanks to Katie Cummings for the question there.
Cannot believe there's no questions on this one. Just so excited by all the news.
Or overwhelmed with all of the
Or
data.
overwhelming. I think this study for me was the most telling, that, you know, Hendricks County, we all enjoy it. We all love living here, or we wouldn't be here, right? You know, I was telling someone the other day, I gave a presentation about this whole program, and, you know, we're very fortunate here in our office that we get to do these jobs, right? We get to tell people how wonderful our community is and how fortunate we are to tell people how amazing it is to come visit. And if they choose to live here, that's fantastic too. But what we really lack in comparing our community to those others on that list is product. You know, we have lots of really nice things that we enjoy. We have some great outdoor spaces, and we tell that story well, but you know, there is no Conner Prairie here. There is no, you know, large scale attraction. And I'm not saying that those things are necessary, but we need a little bit more critical mass to be able to market it in a way that can drive people to stay longer and spend more money. And so I think that's the biggest piece that we knew. But that's where, you know, I think our team is focused over the next 5 years, is really thinking about product and how we can help support investment in product, development of product, programming of product, you know, just the idea of product. And that's where, you know, with Kyle and his new role as the marketing strategy, and then bringing Philip in destination development, and then reevaluating our entire team, you know, how do we look at development and marketing in tandem so that we're marketing what we have, and then there's an undercurrent of developing more. So I think that's a big piece for us as we move forward. I think Chris has a question. There's a question in the comment. I'm probably gonna have, I don't know who's gonna answer it. We're gonna read it and see. It looks like you measured digital awareness, social, and OTT. Were there any other channels engaged in 2023 that were not measured, or channels you intend to deploy in your next campaign not measured here?
I'm happy to answer. I think that we have been primarily focused on digital social as our primary media sources, you know, for paid media. I would say we're interested in other opportunities. But we're very much wanting to make sure that we have data to show that's where our audience is, that's where our audience will respond. As part of our marketing plan, we're looking to try out new tactics on every campaign, and dip our toe in the water in multiple different areas to try and find ways that we can reach our audience in new and effective ways. So as far as intentional things to deploy, I don't know if there's any specifics, but we're definitely looking to expand what we're doing. Not necessarily take half the budget and put it into new stuff, but small amounts in each campaign, and as we find efficiencies, increase the spend as we go. So that would be my answer to that.
We use different mediums depending on what the program is. We basically measured all of our awareness programming. We do some local opportunities that the local people in the call are probably really familiar with, like our holiday campaign. It's very much a retail heavy program, and we do outdoor billboards for that. We do print for that. So there are some other, but it's very much a local campaign within 50 miles. So that wasn't part of the study. So we do use other mediums, and there's other campaigns, but it's again a little bit different mix depending on the market. I want more questions from Katie. Katie always has great questions.
Katie, you mentioned you get asked about fishing spots while we're looking for other questions. Where are the best fishing spots?
We're fishing for questions.
I'm silly. So W.S. Gibbs Memorial Park is really great because you can actually keep the fish that you catch there. I think anywhere else in Hendricks County, I think you have to throw it back in. I keep thinking we need to do like a one pager or a blog or something about where to go fishing, because I get asked that question not like every day or anything, but a decent amount. And I don't even think I know all the places. So I'm sure you guys know others.
We have a blog on fishing that Stone wrote. And if anyone here is really interested, the Indiana Fishing Expo is actually this weekend at the State Fair.
And Jamie.
At the Hendricks County Fairgrounds in Danville, we're actually expecting about 1,000 people, probably more, to be through there on Saturday and Sunday. So this is their second year here. They moved out here from the State Fairgrounds. So expecting a really big crowd. And Josh with the save with a blog on our fishing. He just dropped the link in the chat. And kind of back to the canoe, I know what the canoe situation is. We ran an ad with people canoeing on Big Walnut, and it's not the easy. Big Walnut is the creek that goes from North Salem into Greencastle. And you can put in McLeod Nature Park, but it is not the easiest place to put in. So I think I can see why there's no here's where you put in your canoe, and there's no canoe launches in Hendricks County. So I can see why that might be a little misleading. It's the same fight we have about horseback riding. So fight's a big word. Conversation. Josh, it's a couple years old, needs an update. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Might need to add that to our list, Josh. Well, update that blog and maybe push it out there so people.
We do have a team. Yeah, we have a team of content creators, but anyone interested in helping us update that would be great. Any other questions as we're nearing 10:53 a.m.? Happy to take more questions. This is a great conversation.
Oh, there's one.
From Drew, was there anything specific from this study that surprised you the most or stood out from a marketing perspective?
I think that the affordability metric that we ranked below Hamilton County was surprising. And I think that the rest of it kind of followed in line with what we'd seen in the other studies. And I thought it was interesting that we had 26% who have visited, but a higher number who intend to visit in the next year. I thought that was a promising number. As far as the hot buttons and things that she went through, I think it's very interesting that, you know, there were themes there throughout it that are ways that, you know, maybe things we can focus our messaging on as we go forward.
Josh put in the chat, the fact that our ads are working and changing opinions of Hendricks County for leisure travelers really stood out for him. I feel like that's a great comment. And I would add, I think that one thing that stood out for me was the not too far away to consider for a leisure trip. Yeah, I think we lean into 15 minutes away from Indy a lot in our messaging, and maybe there's a way to rework that. So we're not leaning into being close to Indy, but more like our accessibility from the interstates, or there's got to be a way to redo that, because we lean into our proximity to the city, but maybe we need to lean into our proximity to something else. I thought that was real interesting. And then I also thought the hot buttons, I think there's a, because I remember asking Kelsey this question. I'm like, how can we be good for couples and adults and for lots of things for children? I'm like, how do you marry all of that together? And that's where you get into specific brand awareness, and you know, the brand can be an overarching brand, right? But then you target your ads. And so we have a campaign running right now that's about a night out. So you can win a night out. And it's with tickets to Hendricks Live and dinner. And it looks and feels very different than our other advertising. And so it's just a unique way that, you know, we're leaning into that adult night out. So we're already using some of this information. That's a new campaign we haven't done before. A, we didn't have Hendricks Live a year ago. B, you know, we're kind of leaning into that adult night out activity. So that's been really neat to see this information and be able to put it in practice already. Quentin, are the assets campaign creative that were used for the study available for us to see? Yep, we'll have the full study. We can put that up on the website. We have the full study that we'll put up as well. And then Katie had to take off. Let's see. And Drew says thanks. Quentin says thanks. Anything else? Any other questions today? Did I miss any? All right, Kelsey?
I don't have any questions, but
Any closing comments?
yeah, I think closing comments, it's really like this study proved that you guys, one, picked a really strong competitive set, and you are competing with them very, very well. Your advertisements are making a huge impact on the perceptions of the county, and not just as a leisure destination, which I mean is the #1 goal for the DMO. Also impacting the perceptions on just Hendricks County in general as being friendly, welcoming, a good place to live, a good place to visit. So I think your messaging is really strong, and I can't wait to see how you guys grow. And I've loved seeing how this has been implemented into the new strategic plan. And I just know you guys are gonna do wonderful things in the coming years based on all this work that you guys have done.
Well, thank you, Kelsey. I appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. And then we'll have this up hopefully later today, as soon as it does what its magic thing is to be done. And I appreciate everyone's time. More information will be coming out in the coming weeks. We'll be releasing a more detailed strategic plan, hopefully later in February. So if you have any questions in the meantime, Philip starts February 10th. He's looking forward to meeting all of you. Kyle's here. If you have any more questions, we would love to talk to you further about these programs and our strategic plan. Please reach out, and we look forward to working with you all as we welcome 2025. Thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic day.